And welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. This one sitting down March 13th, post game, 11:03 Eastern time to be exact, Razor, as the Boston Bruins fall to the Ottawa Senators in what was considered a very big game for both teams as they are battling for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. The Senators win. They create more of a gap between not just the Bruins, but other teams as well. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, as always, presented proudly by Vicenda Coffee Roasters. They partner with cafes, bakeries, and restaurants to provide you with the ultimate coffee experience. Fazenda Coffee is the place you want to go to check out all things Morning Brew, whether it's the Morning Brew Blend, the Morning Brew Clean Canteen, travel mug, or the Morning Brew baseball hats. You can use them for your wholesale program if you have one or at home. Go shop directly, fazendacoffee.com. You can get 15% off your first order plus free shipping on orders over $35. Whether you are running a business or just want to brew a great cup of coffee at home, Fazenda Coffee has got you covered. Thank you, as always, to Fazenda Coffee for being our lead sponsor. Razor, you're in Canada as we sit and record this. How's that been going, bud? It's
it's still a whirlwind, right? There's lots of driving around, lots of people to see, lots of stuff to do. But a quick trip up here, so I'm about hour and a half to 2 hours away from Ottawa. There was talk of heading that way last night, but my son, who's not here, would have an absolute heart attack if we had gone to the game without him. So I chose to be a good dad and not leave one of my kids out of the mix. So we watched the Canadian broadcast while the 5 other games that they show here in Canada were on TV as well. So good trip, good drive, head back tomorrow. But unfortunately, the Bruins couldn't pull it out. Unfortunately, not a good first period by their goaltender and put them way too far behind the 8 ball.
Well, we are going to get into that, but I just want to say I appreciate you bringing some of your gear up there and making it work so we can get in an episode. Last we sat down and discussed things was 6 days ago after the Boston Bruins had that, as we called it, end of an era that you said, seismic shift, as I said, in the phrase of in the history of the franchise, so to speak, in one day, not even one day, in about an hour and a half, as they made all the trades. We haven't had a chance to talk since then. They've played Tampa, Florida, and again tonight, Ottawa. The Tampa and Florida games, obviously results that were fantastic for the Bruins. The Tampa game, they didn't get lucky. I'm not going to say they got lucky. I'm going to say they skirted it here or there, but they found a way to win, and that was great. Excellent battle, compete level. The Florida Panthers down 2 goals in the third period to Florida, who looked pretty good. I think the Bruins took over the game, and I felt Florida then said, wait a second, you're not supposed to be coming back against us right here. And the building got electric. It got jumping. It ended up with the Bruins scoring 3 third period goals, and Nikita Zadorov giving it to Sam Bennett in what I thought was an incredibly appropriate fight with 3.5 seconds left in the game. It was one of the most enjoyable games that we've had this season. Too bad we didn't do a Morning Brew Jaffe and Razor after that one, Razor.
Oh man, we're getting smoked, and that one's my fault. So it's the least I can do to bring my gear, because again, I had planned, folks, a week or 2 in advance to run out. So I literally drive after those games. So I drove until like 2:30 in the morning to get to at least Utica to be able to be up here in Canada Wednesday morning. So that's why we didn't have a show, folks. Is I was in the car. I was in the Prius for quite a few hours after that game the other night. So fortunately, I had energy, because you're right. The building was hopping. It was as good of a win as this team's had, and probably after the week or 2 weeks that the group has had, they deserved it. It was fun, and they've worked so hard to get through all of this. And then, of course, the fact that it's Marshy going to Florida and Bennett and Zadorov and the whole thing. It lined up real well for everyone on Tuesday night.
What did you think of the Zadorov fight? I mean, I thought that it was, again, I call it incredibly appropriate, given that Bennett didn't exactly, he didn't just take it in the sense of, he also gave cross checks to start it. And I mean, fantastic response from Nikita Zadorov. He had been into it all game long. The big guy, I will say, he's been emotionally invested in those first two games, especially coming after the trade deadline.
He certainly has, and he does. He's been around long enough to understand rivalry, and he has a good sense of who the Bruins like and who they don't like. I think he he was licking his chops when he knew it was Bennett and there's 3 seconds left and the game's over and I can really take advantage of this. Of course, to Bennett's little bit of credit. I mean, he didn't turtle, didn't go anywhere. Nope. He stood in there against the big fella, and that says a lot about him as well. But certainly no match for Zadorov, and he got his licks, and that makes Bruins fans happy after what Bennett's done the last few years.
Would you agree that was as energized a building, as I ruffle papers, I apologize, that we've had all season? If I'm sure there have been a couple of other games, but that last 20 minutes was a crescendo, a swell, a tsunami of energy in the building. And then it culminated just with the third goal, but also with the fight, and the place was rocking.
It was certainly, yeah. I mean, we had the 100 years where the Bruins came out and they just tuned the Montreal Canadiens, and that was just like a huge night and everyone was going. This one it kind of just exploded at the end because it was quiet. They weren't scoring. They got down 2-0. And then it was the last 10 minutes. It was like we were in the Stanley Cup Finals again. Like it had that kind of energy in there. Everyone was so happy. And I think it goes to show that, again, the passion that New England has for the Bruins. And despite their being upset at certain times or frustrated or disappointed, anytime you give them a little bit, just give them a little cookie, they're more than happy to eat it and be excited and fired up. And that's what they did for them Tuesday night.
I thought the Tampa game and then the Florida game, and we did a little of this, a bit of a video montage about those two games on Nesson pregame tonight, Razor. It was the details, the little things, the stick work, the second and third efforts, the wall battles, et cetera, that made, in my opinion, the difference in those games. Yes, against Tampa, you could say, well, they got a lucky goal, the Castellet goal that he turned and spun and shot from outside the blue line. And yes, Tampa hit some posts. That's all part of the game. I mean, that kind of crap's going to happen, whatever. But I still thought their compete level was very high. And then Florida, even though they weren't playing great, in Florida it wasn't like they weren't engaged. I thought they were very engaged, but the third period, they got rewarded for that engagement factor. Stick plays led to the first two goals. Pastrnak dragged his team, as we would always say about Brad Marchand, dragging his team into the fight. I thought Pastrnak did, getting that breakaway, then creating a power play after the breakaway didn't go in. It was just, I was just happy to see that effort, because quite frankly, we hadn't seen that enough lately. I know they're working hard, but I thought second and third efforts in those two games was incredibly noticeable. And in the first period against Ottawa, incredibly not noticeable again. I thought I was befuddled by that first period tonight, Razor, against Ottawa.
Yeah, they were unengaged, I suppose, disengaged in Ottawa. And I would take it back to the Carolina game too. I mean, they really should have won that game.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd agree. That's a good point.
They had that same detail, that same passion, that same go for it, that getting in the faces. And you're right. The Tampa game was just a way to, skirt it, as you said. They skirted that game, which is still a skill and then still a good team tangible. But
you have to do that in an 82 game season. You
do. But the Florida game, they were right in their face the entire time, and probably a little unlucky to be down 2-0, and it took a 5-on-3 goal to do it. So no, you're right. The details, they were played faster. That's really noticeable with the new guys that they've gotten. The change of roster, they're certainly faster. They're playing quicker. They're able to get to pucks a little bit quicker. And that was highly noticeable on Tuesday night.
Let's talk about the new guys, because again, we haven't sat and had the time to analyze them together yet. Casey Middlestat, Marat Husnudinov, Jacob Lauko, Henry Jokiharju, the four new guys. Yes, there are guys called up from the American League in no particular order. Ian Mitchell on the back end, Patrick Brown. Up front, Vinny Lettieri. By the way, Vinny Lettieri with another. I thought strong game. Actually, he playing. He does little simple things. I mean, you know what I mean. He's a call up guy. You get it, but he gets in on the forecheck, and for a little guy, he's incredibly willing to get involved. I mean, again, I understand he is what he is, but I mean that in a nice way, Razor. He's a vet. He gets his role.
That's right. Exactly. He can get in the way. He can find his spots. He's been around and played a bunch of hockey at this point. Again, not a game breaker changer at any point, but certainly serviceable.
All right, so let's start with Casey Mittelstadt. Points in the 3 games that he's been in a Bruins sweater, wearing number 11. Every once in a while, I'm going to admit, I know he's different than Fred Frederick as a player, but I still look at him like, oh, Freddie, I mean, I still see that 11. It's that changing of the mind that you get so used to seeing something for 5 years or so, 6, whatever it is. And now new guys there. Mittelstadt, I think, has come as advertised. I really liked his forecheck against Ottawa. I thought, that created the goal. Yes, he ended up scoring it on a pass from Vinny Lettieri from behind the net, but I thought Mittelstadt getting the right shoulder on the defenseman who's behind the net, getting in front of him enough to seal the wall, get the puck back for the Bruins, and then eventually led to the goal. He's come as advertised. His hands are good. His offensive instincts are very good. Had a beautiful pass to Pastrnak in the Florida game. I mean, to me, if this kid I call him a kid because he's much younger than me, but he's an NHL vet. I think it's very important for him, bud, if he could keep it a clip of a point per game the last 15, be phenomenal. But I'd like to see it maybe, at least a point every other game type of thing. I think it would be such a huge bonus for him going into the offseason, knowing that he's coming back and having had some success. It doesn't guarantee next season's success, but I think it would be huge for him. He needs this type of finish to the season.
He does. There's absolutely no doubt. He's got to carry. He can't just have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 good games. It's got to be carried all the way through. And that doesn't, to your point, doesn't mean he has to get points or doesn't have to be on the score sheet every night, but he has to continue his process all the way through. And it has to look at the end of this season like he's the second line center that has been advertised or teams have wanted, Colorado wanted in the NHL. He has to come through showing that so the Bruins can make their moves in the summer with 4 centers in place, essentially. If you can go into the summer saying, all right, we feel really good with Zacha, Mittelstadt, Lindholm, and Kastelik down the middle, and we have to really find a way to get wingers that complement all 4 of those guys. And we have to figure that out, and we have to make them all better by getting wingers that are necessary to do that. So it is, I agree 100% of all the players that are on the Bruins roster, he's the one that has to have the best finish to this season to really solidify what the plan is over the summer.
And to his credit, he's producing points. He's going to get, we know this, a lot more power play time than he was getting in Colorado. We understand that. And also he's going to get, I think, just more ice time in general. But his line mates, with no disrespect to, let's just assume that they remain Lettieri and Koepke, they're not what you would call high-end offensive players at the NHL level. But it's still, I think you make a good point. It doesn't need to be on the score sheet, with a goal and assist every night, but you need to see him involved. You need to see him doing the right things. Yes, I'd love for him to get his power play cookies, if only because I think I know any offensive player feels good when they produce offense. That's the thing. So you have to know that, if he can get his points, I think it'll make a big difference. It'll be tough, though, given that this team is, I know they're working their ass off, but they're still limited. They just are. They are flat out limited with what they have. But I think he's been good so far. I think his hands have been good. His reads have been good. He's working hard. Again, just 3 games, but he's been bringing it. And, he's playing 17, 18, 19 minutes a game. He's getting more stuff. So this will be really good for him. In the Ottawa game, he had a goal. He was a -2, but he had 3 shots and he was 8 of 15 in the face-off circle. And it's funny, I still think of him as young, but he's 27. He's not that young. He's been around. I know we discussed after the trade deadline that this is an important trade for him because it's his 3rd team already. But I still feel he's got some room to grow. And so far, so good. I guess that's the point.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. So far, so good. And you can see where that deal, you just isolate that deal. It feels like it's going to work. It feels like they had to get away from Coyle. It was a little redundant with Lindholm. Now you get a guy that's more offensive, thinking that way, playing a little bit quicker in the offensive zone, especially. So far, you can see how it could work. It's up to Casey to keep going and keep getting better and keep thriving in the role, but you can see that it makes sense.
Curious, and I don't want to go too much of a tangent here, but because we have so many days to go and so many events to happen and trades and free agent signings, et cetera, to go. But, assuming they keep Morgan Geekie, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, does Pavel Zacha come back next year as a center, or does he come back as a wing? Mm-hmm. Do you say, well, you think you have your centers? Maybe they put a Geekie with a guy like Casey Mittelstadt, and they develop some chemistry, right? And then Pavel maybe goes to wing, and then you do look to add another center. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying, I don't think you break up the Pastrnak-Zacha combo. Geekie's developed such great chemistry with them too, but I just wonder what the type of player he is. Very straight line, very, got a great shot, as we know. I'm just throwing it out. I mean, maybe that could be a pair as well. And then you start, that way.
Yeah, you can slice it a few different ways, but at the end, you need at least 2 top 6.
No question.
If not one more. And if that means it's the center that's on the market, then you move Zacha to the wing and Geekie down, and then you get the other winger that you want and put him over on the other side. But yes, you need 2. No question. You're not at just least looking for one winger to go with Mittelstadt. You need, you could argue that you need 2 wingers, and you could go to 3. You could go to 3 top 6.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could go to 3. So, so again, but what you don't want is to have to make this trade, and then in 10 games say we need a second line center on top of the other pieces that we're just talking about because Mittelstadt's not fitting. That's trouble.
That wouldn't be good. No question about it. Speaking of being good so far, Marat Hustadinov. Have you gotten used to saying the name yet?
I got it now. Yeah, I got caught up the other night, right in the first period. I was like, because the thing is now I'm never looking at his name ever again. Like I have the way you say it. Never
phonetically.
Phonetically is a problem. So I looked at him like, but I knew it's Hustadinov. Like I knew that. So I've got.
That's good. Yeah, that's excellent. Gets his first goal of the season against the Ottawa Senators. So in 3 games, he has 1 goal. In that time, he has a lot of energy. He's got a ton of speed. I'm curious to see how this plays out. He obviously had fallen out of favor in Minnesota. He wasn't, a regular there. In the past, if I remember, I'm trying to remember this year what he ended up playing. It was 50. It was actually 57 games this year, but he didn't seem to play an awful lot. Played 11 minutes on average. The year before, 11-20. He had identical numbers, Razor, last year and this year. I beg your pardon. This was his first full year. He had 57 games, just 2 goals and 5 assists. And anyways, I like his presence. You notice him so far. I'm going to give it a thumbs up for what he has shown. He's shown a confident player. He's shown a player that is not afraid to play interior, and he's shown a player that, again, with good speed. And I thought his breakaway goal against Linus was excellent.
It was, and yes, him and Lauko have played speed. They've been paired up here since they got dealt, and it's just faster. It is. It's that the bottom 6 is faster. Of course, you match up the exact deal, against Brazeau. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. Different players and different styles, but certainly number one and focus is just the pace of play and their ability to get on the forecheck a little bit easier. And again, especially Marat, he's got to do this the rest of the way if he wants another deal here. Because again, there's not many spots up front, and that's going to be kind of secondary. So he's really got to show well and fit into the system and have a really good finish. But again, like Mittelstadt, so far so good.
So far so good. Nice, beautiful pass through the middle ice or from left to right over to Mason Lohrei. We'll talk about save that was made on that play, but it was a beautiful pass.
Yeah.
He's seeming to Ustedinov. When you're not noticing a player like that, unless they're a defenseman that you don't want to really, you just want to move the puck up and that kind of thing, you need to notice wingers. You need to notice forwards. You need to see number 92 or 94 if you're Lauko getting involved in the play. Jokiharju, I think, is different. We'll get to him in a second. You don't need to notice him as much at that time. But we both agree that Murat Ustedinov's been pretty good. Lauko, we know what he's about. Blocking some shots, taking some hits, making some hits. He had 3 hits against the Ottawa Senators. He had 3 attempts. None of them hit the net. He's going to be a guy that's going to have to battle. I think he's going to have to battle for that 4th line spot when it's all said and done. When this team is reset in the offseason and refilled, if people are slotted more, I think it's going to be, Jacob's going to have to battle for that spot, an extra spot there.
Yeah, he's that. I mean, at this point, that's what he's going to do everywhere. That's what he is.
Right.
NHL's hard for him, but he's good when he gets going, and he was brought back because, and that's a good thing for him. He wasn't the throw in the deal. He was, we want this guy back because he brings energy. He's well liked. We know, and we feel like we're missing something that he took with him to Minnesota.
The other one is Henri Jokiharju. I really watched him more tonight. Now, look, the Ottawa game, wasn't great in that first period. Nobody ended up looking good. Jokiharju ended up playing 18:51. He had a couple of giveaways and a shot on goal. He's a nice skater. He can cover ice pretty well. I think his role on a good team is 3rd pair. Right side. I think the question for him is, you got McAvoy, you could have Jokiharju and then Peak, but is Jokiharju as a number 2 right D? Is that above where you would want to slot him? I find him to be a very solid type number 3 on a better team. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would see if you had an amazing defense, if you were going to the Stanley Cup Finals, you would have him and Peak kind of in and out as 6-7.
Yeah,
that's what you would be.
Yeah, that's where I see it too. The goal where Batherson, where he scores it off the Karam, his 2nd goal of the game, where Korpisalo. So the shot comes from the left point.
Yeah, they both go the wrong way.
Korpisalo didn't feel it, but that's how I would say it. Like, meaning he didn't sense where the puck was. He thought it was more to his right. Jokiharju kind of goes behind the net to the right as well, but the puck's all the way over on the glove side to the left of Korpisalo. I mean, I don't know what Jokiharju, if he stayed in front, could he have gotten over there? Batherson had kind of gotten behind Zadorov, who had inched up just a little bit. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, could Jokiharju have, I guess, desperately stayed in front of the net and gone over to pick up Batherson? He just didn't pick up where the puck was. That's when it was all said and done.
Yeah, that's right. And it's chicken or the egg there. I don't know who didn't know first and then who followed. Like Jokiharju could have followed Korpisalo too, because he went there, and I don't know which one was which. You couldn't really tell, but that's a tough play for it's just unlucky more than anything, because neither guy, Korpisalo and Jokiharju, really had any connection to the puck prior to it. So it goes up in the glass and it just randomly hit a stanchion and went left rather than right, where, again, 90 times out of 100 that goes right, and we never think about that play. Just kind of unlucky.
All right, so those are the new guys, and they get back at it again on Saturday. We'll have another chance to see them when the Tampa Bay Lightning come into town. Before we get to the play of Jeremy Swayman, the Linus Ullmark save, and a couple of other things, including the start against the Ottawa Senators, Razor, what do you say we talk about our other sponsors that help make this show possible? And as I work both the microphone and as I stall for 1 second to also get up,
he's doing it. Yeah,
banner. We did it. Sunset Lake CBD. I haven't taken my gummies just yet. I'm going gummy and a drop tonight, or 2 or maybe 5. I need a good night's sleep. I do. We love Sunset Lake CBD and the products that they have shown us that they have and let us try, and they're fantastic. They grow and harvest and ship all of its craft CBD products directly from their farm in northern Vermont, and it'll go straight to your door. They've got products that can help you relax after a tough day at work. All right. They've got gummies and tinctures that will help you sleep, and everybody needs good night's sleep. If you got some sore muscles and even some dry skin, and again, and you know, they're hockey guys up there too, just like you and I are. And if you got some sore muscles from playing, you know, old guy hockey, try Sunset Lake CBD. Their topicals, they can provide some post-workout relief. If you order stuff over $75, Sunset Lake CBD will ship to your house for free. And the code is BRU20, Brew20 for 20% off your entire order. You go to sunsetlakecbd.com. What I love, Razor, when I use them is, especially if I do a gummy and a little bit of a tincture, and then I, like 20, 30 minutes later, I just start to feel that wonderful relaxing. And I use it predominantly for sleep because of how bad a sleeper I am. Well,
if you notice, I'm not yawning tonight. Like, I literally got 10 hours left. I didn't have to get up this morning, but like I talked about Tuesday night, I didn't sleep at all. It was like a 2-hour kind of night, and I had a full day yesterday, but last night was incredible. Like, it was the best thing I did. So thank you, Sunset Lake.
All right, a little gummy heaven for Razor up in Canada. These are great products, folks. You're going to love them, and we appreciate them joining us here with Morning Brew and Jaffe and Razor. We also greatly appreciate Graciano Construction and all that they've done. They have really helped build our show, pun intended, this year. Doug Graciano and his crew are simply fantastic. Go to gracianoconstruction.com or call them at 508-330-7589. The stuff that they do is phenomenal. Bathrooms, kitchen, porches, garages, small renos, full renos, painting. Nothing too big or too small for Graciano Construction, and nothing they can't do. They are so freaking creative. It is awesome. The best part is they do it with so much professionalism, and it's not stressful. They keep you posted, Razor, on daily on what's going on with their project manager, and it's great texts and, hey, we're doing this, and can we come by at this time? These are the kind of people you want to work with. Check out gracianoconstruction.com, or again, call 508-330-7589. All right, lastly, we're going to touch on quickly the Apex most entertaining moment of the game. 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Apex Entertainment up in Marlborough. I've got mine. I'll let you, though, take yours. What would be your most entertaining moment of the game?
I mean, the Ullmark save was pretty good.
There you go. That's mine. Let's get to it. I
don't know if we're allowed to do that anymore, but I mean, that was it. That was the game. 5-4 would have been a lot different. A good timing and one of the saves of the year.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's set the stage for this. It's 5-3 at the time in the third period. The puck goes up top to the point. It's moved. Was it Lohrei, I think? Or no, I think it was Peak. I'm trying to remember. Jeez.
Lohrei was the one who got saved.
Or Lohrei's going to say, yeah, so it's Peak who gets it up top. The right shot moves it over to the left wing side to Hustadinov. He gets it, and right away Hustadinov with almost a no-look pass type thing across the seam, middle slot area over to a streaking Mason Lohrei, who's a lefty coming in from that right side. He gets it, releases the puck immediately. Linus Ullmark goes from his right to his left, lunges, he Supermans over there and gets that huge glove on it before the puck can enter the net with a complete, it's got to be a save of the year candidate. It's definitely the Apex most entertaining moment of the game, especially, I guess, if you are a Sens fan. But Razor, talk us through that save and the read and just how he goes about doing it.
Well, and Ullmark, we talk so much about drift, right? We've talked so much, but that time he actually did step out on Hustadinov. Like, Hustadinov did a great job showing shot and sending it through the seam, and that's why Linus was in such desperation mode, because he did step out to try and take the shot away from Hustadinov, and it was such a quick bang play. No way to get backside, no way to slide, no way to get a leg on. It's full on soccer goalie mode, and Mace was not going to miss the net, and he you don't want to put it along the ice in that situation. And Linus was able to get his eyes on it at the last second, dive over and just make an incredibly athletic save that really changed the tenor, because that would have given them a lot of momentum going into the third with 5-4 and feeling like you're in it. So just a great, again, not so much the most technical Linus play that we've seen over the last few years, but that's his athleticism coming through, and he's obviously pretty healthy if he's making saves like that.
Yeah, the team now is 5-0-1 in their last 6 in Ottawa. I think 5-0-1, 6-0.
Yeah, they're scoring a lot of goals there. Power play's number 1 at home, right?
Yeah, they're picking that up, and they've got the, if you give them that offensive ability, they're going to make life tough on you. And they absolutely dominated the Bruins in that first period. Besides the Bruins not playing well, I will tell you that the Ottawa Senators came to play in that first period, and their forecheck was ferocious. I know we're getting away from that save that was made there, but if you just look at that team in general, they're built on youth. They're built on offense. If they get some structure and some good goaltending, they're at the point now that they can be good. I don't know if they're a great team just yet, but they can be good. They still, I think, have to learn how to win over the course of a full season and the course of the series. But now the Senators are 6-0-1 in their last 7 games after that one. But they dominated in the first, and the Bruins were just not ready to go. They were outshot 15-4 in the first. The Bruins, though, turned it on in the second. They outshot Ottawa 13-10, but again, they couldn't get that one by Ullmark near the end of the second. What a fun save it was. I mean, you got to appreciate it.
A fun save.
You don't have to like it, but it's that's a youthful save right there. That's a street hockey save, whatever you want to call it. I mean, third period shots, by the way, in the Ottawa game, 8 for Boston, 6 for Ottawa, 31-25 the Sens overall in that game. Outshoot the Boston Bruins. All right, let's talk about Jeremy Swayman in that first period. He ends up allowing 4 goals, Razor. The goals in order: Pinto, Clevin, defenseman. Pinto scores the first one. We're going to get to that in a second. But then from the right slot area, Clevin bombs away from the left point, actually more like the top of the circle. Middlestat, he scored to make it 2-1, but then it was a Batherson goal on the power play. Really not much chance there, but I felt like he caught an edge or something happened for Swayman going left to right. And then the Greg goal late in the first period, that was the 4 goals. So 15 shots, 4 goals allowed. This was Swayman's 3rd game in a row. And we wondered the other night, would you start Korpisalo or would you go back to Swayman? And I wasn't against, I said, starting Korpisalo. I guess do you have to start Swayman because of the whole Swayman Ullmark thing, Razor? Do you have to do that, or you have to do it because it's quote unquote a major game, given it's a playoff battle? Is that what you have to do? And I know hindsight 2020, but is that an issue? Like, meaning, is Sway ready to go 4 or 5, I guess just even 3 games regularly in a row? Could you have, were you okay with the selection, and B, what do you think of his game and what happened?
A, would never even have thought not to play him.
Okay.
You got to rattle off 7 in a row. He just won 2 in a row. He had a shutout, gave up 2 against, that's all day, every day. I don't want to sound flip. I don't know what the right play is, but if you can't play 3 in a row, it's 3 in a row. I understand like the context of it, and I understand now people are really starting to focus in on, can Swayman be the starter, and the season hasn't gone his way, and this is becoming a thing, and that's on the goaltender. It's on him. The idea that you would coach around that is dangerous, I think. Again, you got to be able to do that. And you're getting paid $8 million, you got to play 3 in a row. Like it's just the way it is. If you're not, that's just not enough games and not what you signed up for. So I'd have to go back like all the way through all of them to really see if there's a trend or to see if they've all been kind of like tonight. Because tonight was, I can go through each one. Like a lot of times this season, there's been goals where you're like, no one's going to make a play on that. This one tonight, I can kind of find fault in all 4 of them in the first. And I know, again, there's nights where there's nights where I look at it differently than other people. But tonight I'm probably on the same page as most people, where The first goal, you got to find, you got to stay down. You got to seal the ice. If you lose it, you just can't get back up like he did. He sealed the ice, made the right play, and then for some reason he got up. He kind of panicked.
When you talk about getting up, I called it a little extra movement on Nesson. Like it's like we said he looked a little, and maybe that's, I don't know, an extra movement.
That's what it was. He just he was down. He could have just stayed down, then found it. Instead, he tried to get up while he was trying to still look for it. It was just too much. You know, the guy at the other end would have been patient and just stayed there, and it would have hit his pad, and everything would have been okay. The second one was a bomb, but
it was a bomb.
Still not a great angle. Again, there's not much intricacy to that one. The third one, I had the biggest issue with the third one. So let me skip that one. Okay. And then the puck handling was bad on the fourth one. Like you got to make a play there. Like you're getting forechecked to death. You're getting smoked. Your D's under pressure. It's only 3-1. Like you need to make a good play there. You need to move your feet more. You need to get a better angle. Something. The puck handling you just can't have that happening. But back to the third one, and you said he stumbled or kind of moved.
Let's set it up real quick. Let's just say it's a power play. The play's on the right side for for the Ottawa Senators. Stutzle gets it to Kachuk, who's on the goal line. It just comes off the goal line so it's the right wing Ottawa side or the glove side of Swayman. It's that quick pass, top of the blue paint, not through the blue paint, but I would say top of the crease or maybe even just outside of it, over to Batherson. So Batherson, who's a right shot, gets it and can one-time it, but it's not a slap shot. It's a wrist shot. Swayman looks to go from his glove to his blocker side, his left to his right. And is it an edge that gets caught? Does he get the post? I'm not sure exactly, but he can't get over to the side to even make that save. Okay, so that's what happens. You tell us the rest.
Yeah, he didn't have there was no mechanics there. There's no base, like that's a basic play. That puck goes from half wall to the goal line. You get back into your post, you're inside your post, your RVH, and you slide across on the play. But he goes back to his post. He misses the post, chunks it, gets there early. That's what makes him fall back, which looks like he's lost an edge on a skate. But really, he doesn't have a good angle into his post integration. He just reaches over on Batherson. Like that wouldn't look like that. That just shouldn't happen in the NHL, quite honestly. Like he'll be really disappointed with that play because he does that a million times in practice. You work on that. That's a warm-up drill, and he missed it. He botched it completely. Now, that doesn't mean, again, if I'd be the first one to say he did it all perfectly and maybe the guy Batherson rips it over his shoulder. Like that can happen in the NHL, but in this play, you shouldn't be on your back reaching. You just can't be. So again, that's it's probably the goal that was set up the best by Ottawa, but goalie wise, you gotta at least move better. That's not a good look. And so again, to that point, I feel like that's not because he played 3 games in a row. That's because he made a bad play. The puck handling, I can't imagine that's because he played 3 games in 6 days.
Can it be though a mindset thing? It's a conditioning thing, a mental conditioning thing. Is it? You tell me. You've experienced this as a goaltender, playing 3-4 games in a row at the NHL level. Isn't that different than playing 3-4 games in a row at the AHL? Isn't it different than playing 3-4 at the NCAA level? Isn't there a conditioning factor that goes into it, mental and physical?
Well, he never did it at the AHL level. Right, he's never done it in pro. Yes. So it's definitely different than the AHL or the NCAAs because it's over 2 weeks, right, or 2.5 weeks.
Yep,
this is different. And again,
he's been a pro long enough now too, but he hasn't been the number 1 guy.
That's right.
That's the difference.
That's right. We talked about this at length at the start of the season. Like this is going to be a part of learning for him. And again, I don't know. I think it's more of a culmination of the entire year rather than the specific 3 games in a row this week. So maybe in the big picture, it's the 3 games or 4 games or 5 games in a row. I don't think it's in this particular situation. This isn't even a 3-4. This isn't a 3-5. This is 3-6. And I just don't see, what I saw tonight, again, the puck handling play, the missing the guy in the first goal, and then the poor execution in the net. it's more than just playing too many games in 5 or 6 days. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Yeah, well, people are going to focus on it because his numbers in those games aren't good. When he's playing 3 in a row, I think it's like an 880 something save percentage.
Yeah. So, and again, like I'd like to go back to like the issue, and I just the thing, it's a small sample size. So I don't know if one of those games was the Dallas game where he gave up 9. You know what I mean? Like you can get your numbers hammered if it's only been 11 times. If 2 of those, like I'd have to go all the way back, and I don't have the ability to do that and look at all the goals right now. But again, but I guess it also goes back to it's still on Jeremy. It's not on the team to manage that. It's not on the coaching to manage that. It's you need your guy to go tonight. He needed to
make some saves in that first period.
You knew it was Ottawa. They were going to come. You needed a 2-on-35 tonight to beat them.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see who they start on Saturday against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean towards Korpisalo.
Oh, me too.
I would. He battled, played well. Yeah, he gave up a goal, but he battled. And I think you go back with him.
He gave him a chance.
He gave him a chance, and you go back with Swayman. You knew Korpisalo was playing either Saturday or Monday. You knew it regardless, one of those two.
Yeah.
I just think now you say, okay, no practice on Friday. They'll have a full day off. And then Saturday, give it to Korpisalo, and then you give Swayman Monday, and then you head out on the road and you see. But that's where I would lean. Okay. I'm curious. I think another time I really want to get into how you personally developed and how goalies develop. If it's something as simple as just like a mental, the mental side of the game is so important. I feel even more important for goaltenders, of course, physically too, but the mental side is different than as a skater, obviously. And I'm just curious if there's a mental way you can condition yourself to be better. And I think that's something that he's going to have to work. That's going to be one of his biggest things in this offseason is to be that guy, right? The number one guy, the big ticket guy. You've brought it up. I'm just kind of parroting what you said, but to be able to sustain it over a 5-game stretch and then have the one off and then do another 4-game and then have one off. Anyways, I'm just curious how goalies go about learning that and what you can do. And maybe another show we'll talk about.
Yeah, we can dig in. I think it's as simple as he's never done it. I just mentioned it. Like you've never done it in the AHL. Like that's what the AHL is for. And that's why when people get mad at me, when I say guys should be in the AHL or they're there for reasons. This is one of them. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as this. And again, we'll dig into it another time, but it's as simple as learning how to not feel good, but still play well. That's the mental part. And that's what you learn by playing 3-3, riding buses and figuring out how to play on Sunday afternoon when you feel like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
But you have to win to be able to get to the NHL. And that's your livelihood's depending on it. But you feel horrible. You didn't sleep the night before. Your legs hurt. Your groins
you didn't take
hurt.
your gummies. You didn't, right?
Exactly. Or you took too many of them. And you got to figure it out. So again, it's you have to kind of go through what he's going through, but usually guys do this in the minors. This is what I'm talking about. There's not a spotlight on it. You figure it out when you're on a bus by yourself driving 9 hours and you're like, and when you get to the next level, it's like, okay, I've already done this. I know how to get back to it. He hasn't. And that's what this year is all about for him.
All right. The offseason is going to be big for him with regard to that and other things too. And not just him, all the other players. All right. Bruins lose. They now have 15 games remaining. They have 68 points. I guess the good news, the best news.
There's still only 2.
Columbus lost as well. So still
only 2.
There's still a chance. The Rangers, Montreal, Detroit are still ahead of, they're tied with the Red Wings right now. But again, Red Wings have 2 games in hand. All these teams have 2 games in hand or 1. But we'll see. They're still there. They have Saturday night at home against Tampa. Razor, you and I will do another morning brew with Jaffe and Razor after that game. And then the team heads out west, and we're going to have to figure out our schedule when they're out west. We have a combination of the Bruins and Hockey East Championships. We got a lot of work coming up. Mm-hmm. Not that we're complaining. We just got to figure out when we can get all of our episodes out. All right. So you've got another day or a half day in Canada, and then you put the Prius to work again.
That's right.
And get it back home.
It's going to be easy drive tomorrow.
All right, easy drive. Go get some sleep. I think we covered it. Bruins lose to the Ottawa Senators after winning their first 2 games after the trade deadline. They're back at it against Tampa, a team that actually lost in a shootout on Thursday night. The Big Cat, Vasilevsky, did not play in that game. I expect him to play on Saturday. I'm going to be very curious to see how Tampa takes it, it comes out against the Bruins on that game, given that they lost the previous one 4-0. And hopefully the Bruins learned a lesson that they have to be ready and get them out and respect their opponent right away on Saturday night. All right, we'll see everybody at the Garden. We'll talk to you after that one. In the meantime, please go out there and enjoy your coffee.